before I forget, so that we capture it all. Okay, I'll just keep letting people in, but while I'm letting people in, if anyone wants to say hello and share anything in our informal networking time, you're welcome to before the meeting officially kicks off.
How many people did we have sign up?
We had about 37 or 38 at last time I checked this afternoon.
Okay. Maybe if we start to get a lot of people, we could do like a 5-minute breakout thing.
Yeah, we definitely can if we do that, and we might. Let's see, we've got people piling in. Hey, Dina.
Hi.
Hey, Amanda. How are you? Hey, Amanda.
How are you?
Good to see you.
See you. Oh, this light. Hold on.
I know it's
yeah. The Zoom lighting is always the tricky challenge. Yeah, like I was saying, this is our informal networking time before the official kickoff of our 7 o'clock meeting. We'll give you a couple minutes, but if anyone wants to share anything or say hello while we're waiting and I'm letting people in, go ahead. Otherwise, yeah, depending if we get a few more people, maybe we'll do a couple of breakout rooms to catch up for a few minutes. But,
oh, I'm gonna kill that light.
Okay.
Everyone's adjusting their lighting.
Hi. And in the meantime, if any, while you're all deciding if anyone wants to speak up, you're welcome to open the chat box and start sharing, your introduction and who you are and how people can find you and what you do, so that we can have this to share with the whole group afterwards, and people can know who you are and track you down. So, anyone want to say hi or introduce themselves? I know some of us know each other, most of us know each other, but there's always some that don't.
Sure. I am Dina Fleischman, and I own a business called Oil ID. We import gourmet foods from Greece, and I'm also the brand new treasurer of the Chamber of Commerce.
Yay! We're so happy about that.
Yeah, QuickBooks. I'm hating QuickBooks right now. I'm hating Venmo. I'm hating really. Technology has failed me today.
We've switched our books this year. We've been using Xero for the last few years, which is as somebody who's not a bookkeeper. I have a bookkeeper. Literally just an awful piece of equipment, and we didn't have a great bookkeeper. We managed to get an SBA grant to help pay for a couple of months of a new bookkeeper and to port over to QuickBooks.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's
Community Capital in Elmsford gave it to us.
Oh, amazing.
Really good.
Yeah.
That's really good to know. Thanks for sharing.
Know your CDFIs. Boy, they can find you cash.
Okay. All right.
Hi, Ellen.
Hi, John.
How are you?
Well, how are you?
I got it on.
Yep, you did it. You're here. You're joining us in our informal networking time while everyone joins, and you're free to type your information in the chat box if you'd like, or anyone is welcome to just jump in and say hello and introduce yourselves.
Hi, I'm Pam. I'm have Flowing Rivers Acupuncture in Hastings. And I've been a member of the chamber for a long time.
Wonderful. Good to have you here tonight.
I've missed the last couple meetings. Having condo board meetings or community meetings.
Hey, Sherry, how are you? Sherry, are you able to stick around and chat at like 6:55 to give a couple minutes, or do you?
Yeah, I mean, I need to be off at just about 7:02. I'm having trouble getting into the other thing I need to get to after this, but yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Kate.
It's Elizabeth's birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. No better place to spend a birthday evening, right?
Yeah.
Amongst my community. It's wonderful. It's really, honestly, it's a really nice way to spend the evening. But I am jumping off here right after to have dinner from the parlor tonight.
Nice.
Because pizza is always my tradition for my birthday. Anyway, who else wants to say a quick hello while everyone's joining.
I'll say hi. I'm Amanda. I own Observatory, the yarn shop in Hastings. And I've been missing a lot of the meetings and I actually have to go early, but I wanted to make sure to show face because I love coming to this and I love you guys, everything you do. And congratulations to everyone with new positions. And I look forward to having a trolley again, normal life this summer. So.
Yes.
I know.
Wonderful. I know, right? That'll be amazing. But yeah, great to have you here tonight, Amanda.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good to see you. And like I said, for anyone who's just joined in the last couple of minutes, you can open up the chat box, introduce yourself, pop a note in about who you are and how to reach you. I see Janet's Janet shared a nice note welcoming her colleague, John Doherty, an amazing real estate agent. So thank you, John, for being here. Everyone's waving. Hi, Connie. Good to see you.
Hi.
How are you? Nice to meet you. Like
Nice
I said,
to
this
meet
is you too. You too. It's nice to put a face to the name that we've been emailing a little bit. You're welcome to, well, if you want to say a quick hello right now, and you're also welcome to type in the chat box to introduce yourself.
Okay, well, hi, Connie Gallo. I live in Ardsley. I've been here since 1999. I'm also in real estate. Hi, John. I was at the Howard Hanna Rand Realty office in Dobbs Ferry. They just closed it. Now I'm in White Plains, but I'm looking forward to participating with the group.
Wonderful. Wonderful. And feel free to put your contact info or any information you want to share in the chat box.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, Kabiria. Am I saying your name right?
Yep. Hello.
Hi. Good to see you here.
Thank you. Yeah, the last one of these I came to was like over the summer, so sorry for
No.
But
Okay.
everything at North Space, you know, has been online and is still online. But Noonie, the founder and director, she just kind of called me last month and said, I see this huge need in my practice. You know, the idea of the fourth trimester, those 6 weeks after you give birth. She has families where there are like 3 other kids and the dad is going back to work and there's just, you know, not a lot of support. So she had the idea for a community meal train. And so it's very much a pilot program and we're still kind of, you know, we have our first person is going to start getting meals this week, but basically anyone who wants to sign up, it's kind of an effort to support restaurants as well. So there's no cooking required. So I put the link in the chat. And the way she put it was like, you know, the idea that there's a lot of people out there who are kind of like walking the same path, but feel disconnected. So we're hoping this is a way to connect people. And yeah, any restaurants or like a caterer reached out to us who would like to be involved somehow, please reach out.
Wonderful. Great. Anyone else want to say a quick hello before I hand it over to Michelle to kind of kick us off?
All right.
All right. Yeah.
All right, so we're going to start a little bit early. To Sherry has to head to another county Zoom call, so we're going to give her a minute to give us some county updates. So we'll call to order at 6:55, and we'll start with Sherry, and then we'll go into our guest speaker.
Thank you. For those who don't know me, I'm Sherry Rosen-Asher. I work for the county executive. I'm the director of policy and programs for small business and the chambers of commerce. So I spend my days in meetings like this and trying to connect business owners with the information they need, especially now when you know, information really is such important currency. To try to, I think I sent 5 emails today alone because there's so much going on. The most important thing for small business owners right now is that today, as of 9 a.m., they launched new guidelines for the PPP that will help businesses with less than 20 employees, that will not penalize you if you have student loan debt, that takes into account your gross income, not your net income, that you don't have to have made a profit in 2020. So it's very different. If you go onto the SBA website, they even have like a match program, or they'll match you with a lender if that's been your issue. But I also sat in on a webinar this morning that was given about through the White House and through a couple of like a congressman and the Small Business Association, just to talk about how this administration is approaching the PPP and the loans to the small businesses differently. So so if you were frustrated with it before, or you didn't qualify, or you couldn't get through it, I urge you to try it again. We have several programs through the Office of Economic Development that are geared towards helping solopreneurs and businesses to pivot. One of them is Westchester Rises, and she puts together a series of different experts to talk about different things. I just posted something because there's something specifically for restaurants. And what else did I send out? Oh, Cuomo released the guidelines for caterers and things like that. There's still a lot of questions, but if anybody has questions, send them to me and I will get them to Bridget Gibbons, our Director of Office of Economic Development, because she takes them right up to Empire State Development and gives them to the county executive to go to Cuomo with. So there's still a lot up in the air. I will say that things change more quickly than they stay the same. So that's the one thing we can count on, but I'm ever available. Elizabeth and Michelle know how to reach me. So, feel free to reach out to me with any questions. They may not be county related, but I will try to connect you with the people who can get you the help that you need. That's it. I'll put my contact in the chat, and I encourage everybody, literally anytime, reach out. I'm here for you, especially because this is my hometown chamber. And just FYI, I will be running for the Dobbs Ferry Board of Trustees. That'll be another meeting, but that's it. So thank you. Stay safe, wear your mask.
Thank you, Sherry. And Sherry, just so you know, that I put the link to that latest SBA website information that came out today in the chat, and we'll mention it again later in the meeting. So for anyone else who joins after this.
Thanks, Sherry. All right, so up next we have.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, we have Mayor Armacost with Hastings to give us a little update on what's going on in Hastings. I think she's on, right?
Yeah, and all right.
Go ahead, Elizabeth. Go ahead.
No, please feel free, jump in. I know we're still a couple of minutes ahead of our official start time, so there might still be people coming in, but I think let's get into it. So thanks for being here.
Well, you guys are amazingly efficient. If only trains and planes would arrive and leave in such an efficient way. But, special thanks to Michelle and Dina and Elizabeth and the rest of the steering committee to invite me to speak. And it's so fantastic to see so many familiar faces and Hastings business owners here. And I would like to start out by acknowledging Joanna Prisco and Ellen Sledge, our new representatives to the chamber. Yay, very exciting to have you. And of course, our downtown advocate, Bob Prisman, who I think is on. I think everyone knows Bob is tasked. Is she there?
Yeah, hi.
She is?
Hi.
Great.
Yes, hi.
Hi, Bob. So let me give a little bit of a shout out to you. Bob, I think most people know, but for those of you who don't know, Bob is tasked with ensuring our downtown stays vital. And what she does is she works with landlords and retailers to fill in the empty spaces. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about that in a minute. But she also creates and promotes events. So in non-COVID years, Friday Night Live and the Village Crawl and Oktoberfest and musical happenings, which everyone in the village loves. And the other thing she does, which is, I think, valued by our businesses, is promoting downtown businesses via social media and the press. So she's managed to get some really amazing news coverage for our businesses. So Bob, special thanks for everything that you do. I'm not sure if Jen is on, Jen Holiday, but she manages our Destination Hastings website. And by the way, congratulations on your super new website. I'm not sure if Jen is involved in that, but also your wonderful newsletter. So I find that quite interesting and useful. And also a shout out to Shari, who has been an amazing source of information and resources for all of us. So just to say how fantastic it is to have so many strong women business owners in our village and in the river towns in general. I am seeing a few male faces here. I see John, I see Patty, but there are a lot of them. Oh, and I see Tom Abernanti. But there are a lot of amazing women business owners. So as we gear up for International Women's Day on March 8th, happy International Women's Day. Last time I came to speak, I shared the strategy we used to mitigate the effects of the pandemic on our economy. And just to remind you, our strategy had sort of 5 prongs, if you like: provide business status update to the community, liberalize regulations, repurpose public spaces, bring people downtown and promote sales, and promote businesses, business grants and loans. So here's a quick update on each of those areas. Amazingly, we've managed to welcome a bunch of new businesses to the village despite the pandemic. And what we do is that as new businesses come into the village, we make a point of circulating information about them so that people can come out and support them. So since I was last with you, Samar El Saye opened the Hastings Beauty Salon on Spring Street. Ricardo and Matteo Beffi opened Derizo on Main Street. Next door, Heather and Jacqueline opened the Refill Room, also on Main Street. And a bunch of the empty spaces have been filled. So we have 3 new businesses that are hoping to open in the spring. Dan Sprague bought the mill and is going to use it as office space, but also a bar. Britt Summers and Sandra Dawn will be selling artisanal objects for the home at Hum on Spring Street, which is where Ed Weinstein's space was. Jade Myers is opening a clothing resale shop, Fashion Without Trashing, where Corey Glass used to be on Main Street. And the new owners of the Karate Studio are planning to open a kitchen showroom late summer or fall. So that's pretty amazing. We do have at least two, maybe a couple more vacant storefronts. One is at 578 Warburton, where Leah Irvie, so next door to Ellen's shop, that one is still open, and Sterling Bank still hasn't been rented. The owner's hoping to attract a local bank. But all in all, we're really doing very well and have remarkably low vacancy rates. And I think a lot of that can be attributed to the good work that Barb has been doing. So on liberalizing regulations, we're going to continue doing a bunch of the things we put in place last year for the first time to improve the business environment under COVID. We're going to continue allowing the farmers market to operate every Saturday in the commuter lot. We're also going to allow the Hastings Flea to operate in the commuter lot, and their first flea will probably be on Mother's Day, May 9th, we think. And we're also going to allow, there's one merchant who wants to operate a quaint hot dog stand this summer. So we're going to need to adjust our ordinances a little bit to allow that to happen, because right now our peddler laws, which go right back to the early 1900s, would prevent this activity, or at least require him to move every 10 minutes. So that is really not the best way to run a business. So we're going to adjust that, but that's going to be really adorable. The other thing, and also very tasty, I think. The other thing we're going to continue doing is the repurposing of public spaces. So I think you all know we repurpose parts of some of our parking lots and streets as parklets. And Maud's Tavern, Bread and Brine, and St. George created really gorgeous outdoor dining spaces, which were a massive hit with residents and visitors. And so we're going to continue that this year. And in Hastings, at least, the current arrangement is that merchants aren't charged for the use of the space, but they are expected to supply the safety barriers and plants and decoration. So that will continue. We're also going to create a sidewalk parklet, which I'm temporarily calling a sparklet, near the Hastings Mews. So Ellen, that's right opposite you. So that's going to look, I think, really lovely, and we'll chat more, but I won't go into the details now about that. We can talk about that the next time I come, but that's pretty exciting. The other thing, so the fourth kind of prong was this idea of bringing people into the downtown and promoting sales. And obviously, as the weather gets warmer, we want to continue drawing people into the village in a safe way. So we'll offer a set of outdoor events similar to the ones we offered last year. And I think, as you all know, in the summer, the COVID rates were much lower than in the kind of colder season. So we're planning sidewalk sales, street closings, so that restaurants can offer outdoor seating, more of the drive-in movies. Hopefully we'll find uncontroversial topics to show, some outdoor music. There were informal jazz Sundays last year, which we might formalize, and there'll also be some special events. And I think everyone knows that the Upstream Gallery has its 30th anniversary this year in April, and they're going to put up banners around the downtown featuring the work of local artists. So that should look pretty great. And I think you also know that this past holiday season, we launched our digital gift program, Destination Hastings Downtown Dollars. So far, 205 gift cards have been purchased, resulting in about 7.2 thousand gifts given that can be spent at 40 different businesses who've signed on to the program. And out of that, so 65 cards, so 31% or so, have been redeemed for a total of about $2,000 spent locally. So obviously the next step is to get people to spend their gift cards. It's no point having a gift card if you don't spend it. So, continuing to remind people to shop local. And then the fifth kind of prong of our approach was promoting grants and loans. And since the beginning of the pandemic, we've shared information. Some of it was before Shari came on board. Bob was doing, we were collecting information and kind of sending it out. And I think Shari's done an amazing job of collecting information that kind of goes out to all of the business owners. And so we pass that on, and the loan that she just talked about. But the other thing, on a slightly different note, we did win a CDBG grant that I think people, at least in Hastings, know about. So this summer we're going to be investing about $300,000 in improving sidewalks, and we plan to continue improving the sidewalks in the downtown through grants and other mechanisms moving forward. For those of you who are Hastings business owners, I want you to, if you don't know already, Trustee Georgia Lopez is the board point person on the downtown, and she was very involved with me and with Bob in coming up with these strategies that I've discussed. So just so you know, if you run into her around town. And then, we're not through the pandemic yet, but things are starting to look up. People are starting to get vaccinated. People are feeling a bit more confident about going outside. And we've been relatively lucky, I think, in Hastings and in the river towns. We plan to keep doing whatever we can to keep this very important business district alive and vibrant. And just so you know, Joanna and I met today. Ellen wasn't able to be with us because she was very, very busy, but we agreed to start having quarterly meetings moving forward. So Joanna and Ellen can keep me posted on what the village can do to help. So for all of you who are business people, you're obviously very welcome to reach out directly, but really consider Ellen and Joanna and Bob, of course, as your resources to get ideas to the village. So on that note, I'll stop. Thanks to all of you for tuning in. Happy International Women's Day to all the amazing women business owners and men. And I'm happy to answer any questions that come up.
Just really quick, before anything changes and anybody asks any questions, I am impromptu deciding, changing my hat. I am now, I'm the Chief Operations Officer for the Congress of the New Urbanism New York chapter, and I've just decided that you are getting an honorary award as a tactical urbanist. What you just laid out was so impressive of what you've been doing and how you're embracing the real needs of the village and the businesses. It deserves a reward. It's perhaps about the equivalent of the Wizard of Oz, but it's still, it's still something that just it's saying thank you for everything you're doing.
Well, Patty, I'm sure you know, but others might not know. The Wizard of Oz actually lived in Hastings. Frank Morgan, who was the Wizard of Oz, actually lived in Hastings. So maybe we've got a little bit of magic residual from the film that we can.
And Good Witch as well.
Yeah.
And Billy Burke, exactly. We've got the whole Wizard of Oz thing cornered in our village.
No, Nikki, that was so lovely. We should name a parking lot after him.
So lovely. A parklet, or maybe the sparklet. We call the
For anybody that
sparklet
doesn't
after-
get that, there is a Steinschneider parking lot.
There is.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you for that. If anybody has a couple of, quick questions, if you want, before we move on, I would reiterate what Patty said. It's kind of amazing what Hastings, was able to step up and do last year, and even more this year. And so the businesses are really grateful and excited to, do what we can and participate where we can and work together to make it all a fun place to be. So with that, anybody have any quick questions?
Actually do, and I'm sorry, I would have asked it this morning if I could have made the meeting. I apologize. Are we going to do is Hastings going to do any of the dine out nights this summer like we did last summer? Are we going to?
Yes.
Excellent.
Yeah. So just for people who are interested in that, we will have a few, it's always a bit controversial, the shutting down of streets. But one of the things that we felt really worked well last summer was to have, every couple of weeks or every month or whatever, probably every couple of weeks, to have an evening where the street is shut down, where everyone can be spread out and you have a feeling of mingling, but you're not on top of each other. So, Bob and I have talked about, we've got the, if everything is very optimistic plan, where there'll be music festivals and other things, if we can really get rid of COVID by June or whatever. And then we've got the slightly more pessimistic plan where we have to accept the fact that it's with us for a bit longer than any of us want. I mean, we're all fed up with it now, let's be honest with one another. But hopefully we'll be able to have some events. Certainly the things we had last summer, we imagine we will be able to repeat this year.
Excellent.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's all going to be fantastic. I'm so happy about the grant money for the improvements of the streets and the sidewalks and all that. But there is so much going on in town. It's going to have to be super coordinated, like construction kind of things. Who's going to be doing the incredible organization, or who do we talk to when there's like issues, because we want it done, but it's going to be a lot of coordination, right?
Well, you can always talk to me, of course. You can talk to Mary Beth, our village manager. We may have to get the Wizard of Oz to magically improve certain kinds of things, but it will be, there'll definitely be inconveniences with it. But what we will try to do is make sure that the communication is strong, so that, people know that, XYZ days, there's going to be construction, so you can plan around it. Bob will, I know, be very helpful on that, but the village manager, Mary Beth, I think will do a good job. And Maud, your area, your parklet is one of the most delicious things. I love going past and seeing the lights and the trees and everything down there. So thanks for taking that initiative.
Thanks. I can't wait to dig in again.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right. Any other questions? No? Okay. So moving on, old business, a couple of announcements about the chamber board. Since our last meeting, we've had a couple of new members join the board. One is the second rep, who will be the community rep to Ardsley, Connie, who introduced herself a little bit earlier. And also our one membership co-chair, which is Fabian. And you're going to hear from Fabian a little bit later with a lot of interesting membership committee updates. The next old business item is 2021 dues invoices. Dina, do you want to give a quick thing on that? And then working membership, I'll go into that after you're done talking about the invoices.
Sure, I forgot to unmute myself. Right, so the invoices are going out. I started sending the 2021 invoices out slow and steady. We also just recently upgraded from one QuickBooks platform to another. And I need to spend some time tomorrow and Friday just cleaning some things up because the integration did not go smoothly at all. But, you know, I got some tech support from Intuit, and we will continue to send those out. So, you know, some of you may have already received them, but they are coming out slow and steady. Yeah. And as, I don't know, Michelle, do you want to speak to the issue of, you know, what the options are for taking the option of working membership? If, yeah.
Yeah, so working membership, we mentioned this on the last meeting, we're keeping the working versus non-working memberships. We have this year the option to not pay dues. So we ask if you can pay dues to please do to support the chamber and in all of the things that we want to accomplish. But if you cannot, it is optional this year. And then your membership will just be categorized as a working membership. And what a working membership means is that you participate with the chamber in some way. In the past, you could give discounts, or there were a number of different things. This year, it's kind of an all hands on deck approach. We want to make sure that we, you know, are very focused on economic recovery and that everybody is kind of taking a little piece of it. So we're asking that working members just pick a committee to join, or a board. We still have a couple of board positions open, or to join a committee and just help out a little bit there where you can. The form, if you click on the link of the agenda, which is in the chat, we also sent this out, the working membership preferences form, in an email. And I'm not sure if it's on our website. I don't know if Jennifer can speak to that. We could probably put it on. It is on the website. She says yes.
And I did just paste the link directly into the chat box right now as well.
So this form just basically says, you know, just give us your preference of where you would like to serve. You can also opt out if you decide maybe you don't want to be a working member. We can then invoice you for the full dues as opposed to the working membership dues. And that's it. Are there any questions about working memberships? Everybody understand the concept? And we just would ask that you give us your preference as soon as possible, because we have a number of chairs that have a lot of ideas and are starting to work on projects, and we want to start getting them contact information so they can connect with you. Moving on to new business, we have, that was new business, excuse me. So then next up, reports. I'll give a little bit of a report. I think I'll skip Dina since she already had to talk about dues. One thing that's new is we just brought back Rosie. For those of you, that have hung around the chamber in the past, you know that she was an intern from Mercy College, who then turned into kind of our permanent social media person. She graduated and got a job at a children's hospital and moved back home. But she is looking to do some part-time remote social media work, which is great because she knows all about us, and she's jumping right back in and is going to do a really good job of ramping up our social media again, and also kind of supporting the goal that we have to promote our members more. So you'll hear more from us specifically on how to give things for us to promote, how to submit that to us. That'll be part of the membership committee. We also, we're going to figure out how to add resources to our website. We've been sending a lot of stuff in email. So we're going to try to just start adding those links to the website so they're fixed and you can view them whenever you want, as opposed to having to search for an email for a grant or something that you're interested in. And I just wanted to put this out there because we talked with the village reps and the committees about this when we had our one-on-one calls. If there's any kind of village issues that, you know, or ideas that you want to address, obviously you can reach out to your village reps, but if the chamber ever needs to, you know, have a stance or a position on something, we're happy to write a letter, you know, and kind of have a formal communication with the villages or any entity, the county. You know, so if there's something that, you know, you really feel passionate about, definitely reach out, and you know, the chamber can support you in making sure you're heard. Obviously, you know, we'd love to gather input from all of our members before the chamber kind of, you know, takes a position on one thing or another. So you'll hear some things come up in the village reports kind of relating to writing letters. And let's see, if you, like I said, there's chair positions available. So, and the vice president position is still available. So please, if you feel like you can step up to the board, do. And the last thing I'll give a report on is the community table meals. We're still fundraising for those. A Facebook group called Westchester Foodies just completed a fundraiser on behalf of the community table meals and raised another $3,000. So, you know, it's not coming in, you know, as quickly as we need to keep up meals every week, but, you know, once we have enough funds, then we're, you know, going to the next restaurant on our list and distributing meals to the food pantry. So we're also pushing the county to do another round. The FEED Act that was being pushed for was essentially signed in by executive order from Biden, which what that means is that FEMA funds can be used up to 100% to pay businesses to fulfill meals for certain kind of categories. The only thing holding it up is FEMA doesn't pay directly. We have to go through kind of a local entity. So we're going to be laying, you know, a little heavy on the county to be that entity and do another round of the community table grant, since we kind of already have that blueprint going. So more on that, hopefully you'll hear from me. So now moving on to village reps, I'll start with Ardsley. I think Connie, we have a couple of things from Heather. And I know you just came on, so we're not going to put you on the spot unless you have anything that you want to say.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Do know we're starting a new pollinator program, but
great. That's exciting.
Yeah, it is exciting. It is, and everyone's own backyard. So I think that's a nice step forward.
Great. And I'm realizing, Elizabeth, I don't have it in front of me, but I think Heather.
I have it.
Okay. You want to?
Yeah. So Heather just said that she's has this call scheduled with the Ardsley Village Manager Meredith tomorrow afternoon, potentially, and she'll be planning to start helping to reach out to local businesses this month, or next month. I mean, now that this month is almost over. Yeah. I think that's it. Did you want me to give an update on the high school student?
Yeah, I mean, we had some high school, and this happens periodically with the chamber, like groups will reach out to us and ask if we can partner or do something. So we had a high school group reach out to us that wanted to essentially intern for local businesses for free to help them with social media, which is in New York State, not, it's essentially
legal.
Not really possible. There's a certain way that you can intern at a for-profit business, but it's just, you know, way too complicated, and this wouldn't necessarily qualify. So we love the idea of it, and Heather's going to go back to them and ask them if maybe, you know, they could alter it a little bit. Maybe they could start their own platform to promote businesses. So if, you know, if anybody, you know, wants to reach out and run an idea by us, please, by all means, you know, have them send us an email or send the village rep an email if it has specifically to do with the village. And we can definitely, you know, support it how we can, or give feedback how we can. Let's see, let's do Dobbs Ferry next. Kristen, Patty, who wants to go? Patty, you're on mute.
I'll go.
Go
Okay.
ahead, Kristen.
Yeah, so a few quick things and then a not as quick thing. Like Hastings, we actually in our village also got a grant to upgrade sidewalks on Main Street and Cedar. We were in communication with the trustees. We're actually not going to be doing it until next spring. We wanted to make sure that the businesses here had enough time to keep recovering economically, but also enough time to plan. So we are going to be working with the trustees as plans start getting developed, so we can make sure that everybody that's going to be impacted has enough heads up to plan for it. We've asked to have some open communication. So if there's any requests that businesses have, or any ideas that we can collaborate on that, and we can hopefully minimize the impact there. But again, that's a year away, but we're still talking about it. At last night's trustee meeting, just general interest that probably everybody cares about. George Latimer from the county opened the meeting and just gave a really nice update about where we stand just in general in the county on COVID numbers. There's a real steady decrease week after week, not just in new cases, but hospitalizations. And there's a lot of good indicators. He talked about the vaccine supply still being a challenge, and any of you who are trying to get appointments for a vaccine probably don't need to be told that. But there was nothing specific, but there's a lot of general optimism still that the summer is going to feel a lot more normal all around. Another presentation that happened was from the Affordable Housing Task Force, and this might be interesting for those of you who are in construction and architecture world. They did a presentation about increasing the inventory and the types of affordable housing in the village. And one of the ideas that they feel is probably going to get recommended, and there was a lot of heart for it among the trustees, was changing the ordinances for accessory dwelling units, i.e. having like a mother-in-law suite and something kind of small on property. There was a lot of conversation about building new or versus renovating. So this is going to be an ongoing conversation. They also said for those interested, the task force will soon have a separate page on the village website with everything that they're doing. They're doing some long-term planning and different strategic initiatives. They're kind of at the beginning of their work, but that will be posted there. The big conversation was just like in Hastings, a conversation around whether or not we're going to do parklets again. The board is in favor of moving forward with parklets. They agreed to some general outlines of what that's going to look like, and that's currently being drafted for discussion in the next meeting. They're talking about leasing from April 1st to the weekend after Thanksgiving, which is November 28th. This year, they're going to open parklet leasing up to all businesses that are impacted by capacity. So any retail too, it's not just going to be restaurants. For the first round of applications, they're going to cap at 2 spots at first to give more businesses the opportunity to take advantage of it than last year. But if after kind of a first round, there's more capacity, they will allow people to request 3 spots. They're really concerned about not purchasing extra barriers this year. They kind of want to maintain what they already have. And they talked about not wanting to allow improvised barriers. They really are going to restrict everybody to use what the village is providing. They are in agreement to lower the fee from last year. It was $250. They kind of landed on $175. there were a handful of restaurant owners on the call, including Michelle, who really reinforced how much the restaurants are really struggling and could really use a no lease agreement. You know, this is where it was. We're going to be putting together a letter and information. Michelle's taking a lead on that to push back on that before everything is finalized. Some unresolved items that came up, and this was in response partially to what some of the restaurants were bringing up. There was complaints about the lighting from last year, the solar lighting. So they're trying to figure out a different kind of source of electricity. That will be an ongoing conversation because of building codes. There was a discussion about street closings throughout the season to help further support businesses. This was really unresolved. There's a lot of ongoing discussion and lots of positions. And, you know, we're already talking about, you know, also putting forward, you know, our official recommendation as a chamber. And there was also, you know, a general question about just, you know, the village taking a bigger role in terms of like beautification. You know, we just heard from the Hastings mayor how much is going on there. So there was a lot of robust discussion and a lot of, again, restaurant owners on the call voicing. We're going to stay involved in this. So if anybody has something to add to this or something that they're worried about that they haven't expressed to Michelle or anybody else in the chamber, please let us know. We're working on this right now. And Michelle, if you want to add anything to this.
No, I think it was a good recap. I was on the call. I'm not normally on all of the village calls, but I was on the call because we have a restaurant in Hastings. And I think that this is like one of those examples where, you know, it's pretty clear that the board isn't necessarily hearing what the businesses are saying. And so, you know, we're going to write a letter and kind of try to summarize it and, you know, come up with the position and help them understand, you know, where these businesses are coming from and try to make the case. They haven't, what they are doing is drafting the resolution based on the discussion, and then they'll do another discussion about it at the next meeting and then vote. So they could amend it in the next meeting. So we're planning to write a letter and kind of try to give that one last push of, you know, this is what we really think it should be and what the businesses are saying that they need. So there's an example, you know, of the chamber kind of helping to facilitate that conversation. Patty, did you want to add anything?
I think Kristen did a great job of it. The only other thing I noted was there was at one point there was even a conversation about starting now to think in terms of the parklets being something that is post-COVID, which was kind of encouraging to hear. Although it was clear that was not a resolved issue on the board, but I appreciated the fact that a couple of the trustees were recognizing that this idea that we had 2 or 3 years ago, where we all talked about, couldn't we do this? And everybody said, no, it would never work. Now that we've had COVID demonstrate that it would work, there are some trustees who are supporting the idea that even after COVID is done, we should be continuing this. It brings great vitality. It improves the business in the downtown. And I understand that there was always a concern with parking, but some of us think it's a different problem than others. I've always tried to remember that, you know, we've got feet. We can walk, you know, a half block if we have to. So it's, I think we've got I don't think we have as much of a parking problem that would preclude that than some people believe, and we need to prove it.
Yeah, I was looking through after the meeting last year. Sherry had sent us a lot of like what other villages were doing last year when we were first initiating the parklets, and I came across something I read that was interesting. Our monks kind of email about it was that they had recently done a parking study that determined that there was enough parking. You just may have to walk further than you like. So it'd be interesting to see if maybe Dobbs can do a parking study now with the Cedar Street lot and put that to rest. You know, or see maybe what are the challenges like on Cedar Street? Why does it feel like there's less parking over there, you know, and can we mitigate that? So that might be something, you know, to look into in the future.
Dobbs actually, Donna Cassell led it about 4 years ago, I guess now. We were working with the county. We did a fairly extensive analysis of parking. And there was, you know, the problem was it came out with results that said, we don't have as big a parking problem as people think. And so they ignored the report. It was actually quite good. And it did find exactly what we're saying. You know, you will not be able to get a parking space in front of Sam's on Friday night. You know, you might have to park in the lot behind Village Hall and walk the half block. You guys, I mean, I know you were on board with it. Scott Broccoli started it. Unfortunately, the experiment got interfered by COVID, but I think we'll be returning to that whole idea of can we do the valet parking and find other ways to move people around in the downtown. So we're not as dependent upon parking in front of the store or the restaurant that you're going to. And, you know, and now that Nikki, you know, has that honorary membership at the Tactical Urbanism group and the Congress for the New Urbanism, I think maybe we should start promoting that, because this is something that there's been a tremendous amount of research on that supports everything that we're talking about doing. And the people who oppose it are opposing it because they don't think it'll work, not because they've got the ability to present the information that shows that it doesn't work.
Also, Patty, where are our trolleys?
Our trolleys are coming. I think we're gonna be surprised how much interest there is in the trolleys by the institutions. We were obviously interrupted in that whole effort. We were having the meetings on the trolleys until COVID happened. The last meeting I had was with Rob Barron and the woman from Mercy, who was actually laying out the schedules and the routes. So we had gotten to that part in it. We have somebody who's willing to buy 3 trolleys, rubber tire trolleys, to run the program. And we had Mercy Masters, the hospital, St. Chris, Children's Village. We had a pretty substantial buy-in from everybody who was already running the van services, because what they've figured out is if they can reduce their van services, they can save money, even if they're contributing to this other thing. So I think once we're not COVIDed, we can really get back to that and make it happen.
Solve everything.
Solve everything. That'd be good.
All right, thank you guys. I'm gonna move on to Irvington and then we'll do Hastings after that. Anybody from Janet, I guess, yeah.
Hi. So I am just the community liaison to community organizations. We are currently seeking a government liaison, correct, Michelle, still? So I am working with Connie Kehoe, who's the deputy mayor. She and I connected through Michelle and Elizabeth, and I know Connie since I was a little girl. And so we're working together to see if we can try to find a government liaison through one of the business owners in Irvington. If you have any ideas, please let us know. If anyone you want to put forth to us, we'd be happy to talk to them about that. But as far as a community liaison, I am jumping in 2 feet forward and doing some introductions and introducing Michelle's agenda to some of the community groups. And so going with that and letting them know that we're here. And then there is a wonderful committee that's working in Irvington right now, the Commemorating Enslaved Africans in Irvington Committee reached out through Connie and got my information, and Elizabeth and Michelle were also reached out to, so I'm going to get back with them. They're looking for us to spread their message. They're working with the school district and the PTSA to build a memorial, and they need, they're going to be doing a fundraiser to help with the art installation that will be going on there. So I have some more specifics about exactly what they're doing. But again, they have involvement from the Irvington PTSA and the Diversity Committee. And it's going to go on the grounds of Main Street School, and they're going to do tours and involve the children. And sounds like a really wonderful project, but they're asking for us to outreach to the Irvington businesses and any other businesses who might be looking to sponsor. So I'm going to get back with them on donation levels and types of things that we can just, again, share perhaps in our newsletter on our website to help spread their word as they're going to start reaching out for that memorial, which sounds like a really nice idea. If I could, Michelle, I'll just take a second for a business thing, but it's a job opportunity. Houlihan Lawrence is about to post a full-time marketing administrative assistant position. It's going to be based in our Ardsley office, which is on 9A and Heatherdale Road. It's an interesting schedule. It's Wednesday through Sunday, 9 to 5, with the ability to work in Irvington if necessary. Again, it's a heavily marketing position. So you're doing direct mailing, social media, print ads, digital ads, really cool things for a really fun and exciting real estate firm. So if you know anyone, again, the job will be posted on Indeed. I'll probably be posting it on Facebook, but it's a full-time administrative assistant position, heavy marketing with Houlihan Lawrence. Wednesday to Sunday is the schedule. Just my plug. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And now Hastings, who wants to go first? Or is Ellen, one person, going to give the report?
I think Nikki said nearly everything and then some. There are a couple things I'd like to add because I'm a little excited about them, having been on the downtown working group. Hastings Paint and Hardware has donated their services. They are going to clean all of our old light posts downtown and repaint them with the appropriate paint. And Upstream Gallery on Main Street is celebrating its 30th anniversary this year. And one of the ways they're celebrating it is they are making us all brand new post signs. John Doherty knows how much I hate those old post signs that say welcome to downtown. And they will feature the art of their members. And so I'm really excited about that. Otherwise, I think at least on some of that side, Nikki really covered it, but I'm sure that Joanna has stuff to add.
I don't have too much to add. I do feel like Nikki was able to touch upon most of the bullet points in our update. You know, I've had some great conversations with Barb and Ellen and other stakeholders lately about planning events and driving more foot traffic to the downtown this spring and summer. And you know, I think everyone has the same goal of doing so safely. And so it's going to happen. It's just a matter of choosing the right dates and the right spaces. And yeah.
Nikki, do you want to say something fast about bike parking?
Just to say it's coming. I know that there have been lots of requests and, you know, kind of along the lines of what Patty was saying earlier, just making it easier for people to be able to walk and bike, you know, is something that we can do as municipalities. And so obviously having better bike parking will make a big difference. So that's on our agenda. It was actually on our agenda last year, but COVID kind of got in the way. So it's back on the agenda this year. And the places we're looking at are right down near the train station, as well as a little part of Boulanger lot and also the post office lot. So hopefully our bikers will be happier. And then Joanna's fantasies about biking Sunday and all these other cool events that bring bikers meaning bicyclists as opposed to Harley Davidson driving people, but that would also be fine to the downtown. Well, yeah, exactly, will be realized.
If I can add to that, an architect here in our town, Gisolfi Associates, who helped the downtown working group try to plan out areas of concern in the downtown. They had identified some of those spots for bicycle parking, and they took some time to actually walk through two of those parking lots that Nikki just mentioned and said, this is a useless parking space. This parking space is not wide enough. Throw bicycle racks there. So we're excited for that.
Excellent.
We're also going to, move a couple of events into the downtown, like our Easter egg hunt, which is usually in a park that's not in the downtown. We're going to try to we are going to do that in the downtown this year, since we have a couple of public spaces like next to the library and the VFW where we can hide the eggs there. And we're going to have, actually, Lisa in our rec department is going to get a person in a bunny costume to collect the shells so we can recycle them and give the kids a goodie bag at the end. So it'll keep families in the downtown on that day. And so that's the thinking, you know, we're dreaming up like a performance art day where we have like spots around town, maybe 10 spots that people sign up for, and they can do a performance art piece at 3 times in an empty store window or in a public space at a few times during the day. But that'll be a Saturday when it's super interesting to just come downtown and shop and eat and walk and look at things where we don't have to gather a tight crowd of people. So anyway, that kind of stuff in addition.
Great. Thank you, Hastings. Thank you, everyone, all of the reps. It's been great to have these reports on the meeting. So next item is really quick. We're adding one of the changes that we're ready to add to our website are an opt-in for more categories. Right now, it's either I think there's A to Z, there's by village, and there's certain types like food and beverage, for example. We're going to add the categories of woman-owned, veteran-owned, minority-owned, or LGBTQ+. And you know, the official definition, like for woman or minority-owned, is that it's 51% owned. Obviously, we're not going to be checking. So if you feel like you want your business can opt into one of these categories, there is a form on our oh, I'm sorry, Elizabeth, you're right. I skipped committee. So let me finish this and then we'll do the committees.
Right. And I'm pasting the link to the form in the chat.
She's going to paste a link to the form in here. Basically you just have to, if you already have a listing, you just have to let us know which categories you want to opt into. If you don't have a listing and you're a member, which there are a lot of members who have not given us information for a listing, we've reiterated what we need from you and where to send it. And if you're not a member and you want to have a listing, then join. So going back to committees, we have 4 committee report. No, 4, I'm sorry. We don't have a tourism report. So women in business, you guys want to give your report? Do we have? Yes.
Hi, I don't think Alexandra's here, so I'll give it. Hi, Alyssa. We met, we actually haven't had an opportunity to talk to Michelle and Elizabeth yet, but right now we're planning 3 to 4 networking programs through the year. We're going to have speakers talk about basic topics like Instagram, making, you know, how do you optimize everything, Contracts 101, how to protect your brand and trademarks, how women can help women drive 2 businesses and coordinate. So for example, like having different businesses in town run something at the same time. So we encourage foot traffic or things like that, and also have networking portions and breakout groups. So that's our plan for now.
Great. That's exciting. Definitely a step up from the 2 kind of women networking events that we were having, and glad to see you guys pulling some more fun stuff together. Under 40 is, I think I saw Sasha.
Sasha's here.
Yeah.
So we reached out to the Peekskill committee, and they said that they actually told us that they are not the ones to do their under 40. So they told us to reach out to another person, Amanda, I think it was like Amanda Palmer, and I've reached out to her twice already and I still haven't heard anything. And I can tell you, one second, let me go. I can tell you what. So Amanda De Palmer, and she's from the Business Council of Westchester. So we're gonna try again. If we don't hear back by the end of the week, we're gonna call and see if maybe they're more receptive to phone calls instead of emails. But we did at least complete, Chris and I, we put together a questionnaire. So we're just kind of cleaning it up. And then what we're gonna do is we'll send it to either you or Elizabeth so that we can actually then post it through an email blast. And then I think once we receive comments from the questionnaire, it'll give us a better idea in terms of what we can be able to offer to those businesses under 40, just because a lot of the questions are really geared towards, you know, how we can support them. Because the last thing we want to do is like create an event that, you know, it doesn't really benefit anyone.
Great, perfect. Let's see, minority owned, Ramona or Tony? I'm looking to see who's on here.
I don't know that Ramona's on here. I know Tony was, but looks like he's not at his chair
He's
right
at
now.
the restaurant. We can probably
Yeah.
pull up, I think Ramona sent something, right?
Did she? I don't know.
Maybe
Maybe I
wrong
wasn't on it.
All right, we'll skip over them and
Okay.
see if he will come back. And then if not, we'll give a little update. Membership. We have a lot of membership stuff, so I'm excited for this. Fabian, are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready as can be. All right, let's see. So for membership, let me just pull up my page. There it is. So we outlined specifically what goals we want to really focus on, and those being really highlighting the different businesses that are members now, and then really reaching out to businesses who can join the chamber. We also want to focus on highlighting funding opportunities for the different categories of businesses. And then also a very just basic necessity is a space in which the businesses can communicate more with each other. To that end, some action items that we have are to create perhaps using Facebook, maybe a Facebook group, just a point where all the members can really communicate and speak to each other immediately and share information. We also are going to start a Google Calendar in which businesses are able to throw up on the calendar their different upcoming sales, upcoming events, anything that corresponds with holidays. It's an opportunity for all members to highlight each other's offerings and sales. Also an opportunity for the chamber in particular to highlight those events on social media, and then also an opportunity to collaborate if there are any businesses that want to partner on offerings. Now you're in the know and you're able to see what's up and coming on that calendar. We also spoke about that funding information, right? So I think it was actually Michelle, who suggested that we add a page to the current website where you can see all current funding opportunities that we've researched and them being listed under different categories. So it's just an easy, clickable page that keeps you up to date with what grants are available, so on and so forth. We also mentioned Rosie, social media extraordinaire, and working with Rosie specifically to highlight businesses via social media. So it's definitely a new age move, but my thinking is just really inviting the public more into the businesses, doing different things like Instagram takeovers where the chambers, let's say Instagram is taken over for a day by one business, and you have an opportunity to see their employees, how they run things, you know, around the ship, and kind of just get an inside look, a very personable experience via Instagram. So I'm thinking about asking Rosie if she would be willing to coordinate maybe a running list of businesses who are interested or open to her coming into their space and just filming them for the day. Very candid, but yeah. And then lastly, we talked more about communicating more with residents and villagers and really making that a bit more just natural, more and more like an everyday friendship, reaching out, hey, letting you know what's happening within the businesses of the river towns. And so there is a app called Community. And if you follow them on Instagram, it's called In Community, but it's literally an app that generates a phone number. And we're thinking about, we'll create a phone number specifically for the chamber, just so it doesn't feel like some random person is contacting you from some random number, because I definitely swipe left on all of that. It's a phone number. You put it public, so maybe there's a post that says, hey, keep in touch instantly with me via text. And then it's like, text me at my new phone number, X, Y, and Z. And so it's literally a way to directly engage with residents, anyone who opts in to receive text messages from us. On the back end, you're able to organize all of your contacts. So we can organize via what community you live in, if it's Ardsley, if it's Hastings, if it's Dobbs Ferry, if you're a parent with kids, if you're a wine connoisseur. You can make all of these different categories so that when you're ready to send a text message notice out, you can really target your ideal, client. So that's something that we're looking into as well. So those are some action steps that we are working on immediately right now.
What about TikTok?
Oh, child. Sorry. Yes, we are. we did speak about TikTok and how we can kind of jump on board with some of the TikTok challenges for any of the businesses who are open to taking part. It's just another accessible point. TikTok is so popular right now, especially young and old. Actually, everyone is pretty much on TikTok. So it's just another fun way of inviting you in and connecting and communicating with our different businesses and business owners. I'm going to come up with a very easy list of TikToks to do, and share that with members and see who's willing to sign up, who's up for the challenge. But yeah, we're definitely going for TikTok.
Yeah, we're looking at maybe having an intern from Mercy that could kind of facilitate this. The idea really is to get in contact and also kind of grow our email list, like I said before, get in contact with more residents and drive them to businesses, not by only sharing what you're offering, but just kind of making the chamber an exciting place to find out about things. So we're really trying to kind of step up our game there. And Fabian is really good at that on her own, if you've ever seen any of her promotional stuff. So I want to say, because we're hitting 8 o'clock and Elizabeth is going to jump off because it's her birthday. She's going to have dinner for her birthday. So before we, move on to the rest of the agenda, happy birthday to Elizabeth, and thank you for hanging out with us.
Thank you. I'll stay a couple more minutes. And
hand over.
I'm going to make. Oh, what were you going to say?
Host.
I'm going to make you the host so I don't cut out, and then I can just once more I'll paste again a bunch of the links that are in the community news part of the agenda. I'm just gonna paste those again in the chat, and I'll just quickly say at the bottom, you'll be getting an invite, but the next chamber meeting, there's a link to the Zoom in March if you want to sign up for that now. But I'll turn it back to you because I know we want to do new member welcome too.
Yes. All right, so new members this month. I'm sorry, let me just go back to minority owned business, because I can just give a quick thing for them if they're not on here. Tony, I don't think he's on. So on our one-on-one with them, we had discussed kind of what they felt like the best ways were to help minority-owned businesses, and access to funding really came up. So they're in the process of kind of brainstorming ideas of how to link up with minority-owned businesses, members in the river towns, and getting them a little bit more access to these funding opportunities. You know, in some cases it may be English as a second language. In other cases, it's just really hard. And Sherry spoke about it with the new SBA stuff that, you know, it's hard to know, you know, where to get these things and how to fill out these applications. And so if you don't have, you know, relationships with banks, like, you know, certain businesses do, it becomes even harder. And they're seeing that statistically that is an issue for minority-owned businesses. So we'll see more from them on, you know, how to kind of directly support businesses with funding that way. So new member welcome. So we have Chris Gomez, who is a new member, new business, and new chair, just jumping right in from Climbing Wolf. He's not on tonight, but welcome to Chris. Connie, who we heard from you in the networking portion, but we always give a little bit of a minute to new members when we announce them. If you want to say anything, there's a few more people on the call right now.
Sure. Well, I'm very happy to be part of the organization. I had actually attended a couple of your live networking events before COVID hit. And finally, I've decided to be a more active participant, and I'm going to represent Ardsley. Lived here for 21 years, raised my family. And recently, in the last 5 years, I took on the role of a realtor with Howard Hanna Rand Realty. We were based in Dobbs Ferry. Now that office is closed, and I've moved to the White Plains office, but I've just loved the community. I've always loved the river towns, and you know, thanks for having me.
Welcome. Next up, we have Dave DeBari or Megan or Kathy. I don't think any of them are on, but from the Cookery, the Parlor, and Donation Pizza Truck. So welcome to some new fellow restaurant members. And then lastly, Marcy Allen with Rivertown Moms. Are you on?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, thank you. I'm so happy to be here. I'm Marcy. I just started Rivertown's Moms this month, actually, and it is part of the Local Moms Network. And what we do is, it's a national organization that has localized sites throughout the country. So Rivertown's Moms is brand new. You may be familiar with some of the other Westchester County ones. And what it is a sort of a multi-platform site that promotes largely women in business and family opportunities and things like that. So I've already had the pleasure of working with a few folks on the call to do things like, you know, profiles of businesses, help promote events, just help raise awareness and social media presence around all the amazing things happening in the river towns. So I'm just happy to be here and, you know, excited to get to know more of you. And I've also volunteered for the Women in Business Committee.
Great, welcome.
Thank you.
I'm just trying to figure out how to respond to some messages in here. I'm not I'm not a Zoom person, and I'm in charge now. So sorry if I mess anything up.
That's okay. I can respond, and then.
Okay, I got some direct messages, but I'll sort that out.
Yeah.
So going on to community news. So if you scroll up just a little bit, Elizabeth posted all of the links for all of these things that we're going to speak about here. And then there's a little bit of time at the end. We're already, you know, at the 8 o'clock hour, but if anybody else has any announcements that we haven't given. So WOW nominations, this is for women in business. You have, I'm sure, seen the emails or seen it on social media. The county is doing an awards program. If you have anybody you'd like to nominate, click on that link and you'll see the categories. Rising Stars 40 Under 40 nominations. This is through the Business Council of Westchester. So go ahead and click on that. SBA prioritizing smallest of small businesses. Sherry actually spoke about that in the beginning, but here's another link to it. Specifically, it just there's more things that they put in place that makes these loans more accessible to small businesses. Another announcement is we sent this out maybe last week. The New York Forward Loan Fund was previously not available to you if you took an EIDL loan or PPP. Now it is available. So the link is there if you want to apply for that. Best of Westchester, I think we're all the way up to, category 4 on Best of Westchester voting. We've been trying to share those ballots. So make sure you go in there and vote for your fellow businesses in the river towns. The governor released guidance on expanded events. Sherry talked a little bit about that also. The link is here for the full release. Some summaries were sent out from the county and also the Restaurant Association. So we'll kind of share one of those tidbits in an email. It's easier to kind of have a summary to know what those regulations will be. And that's it, except for if anybody else has any other announcements, that's anything we haven't touched base on, now's your moment.
Michelle?
Yes.
It's Pam. I was gonna volunteer as a working member because I am very connected in Greystone. I know I've been in the community organizing in that area. So I'm in a position to be able to promote events for the river towns. I know the condo board owners and the managers of these buildings from work with them through the years. So, flyers about special events or that kind of thing, I'm in the position to distribute and get them to the right people so it gets on their bulletin boards and gets noticed. So I'll volunteer to be your special liaison for the Greystone neighborhood because they love to shop and dine in the river towns.
Great. Yeah, that's a great, I think that fits under membership. So, we could kind of link you up with the membership currently chair, chair soon. And yeah, we can definitely coordinate to get some information to you.
Great.
And then just make sure you either fill out that form or email Elizabeth to let her know that we'll
email
category, which is Elizabeth is at info@rivertownschamber.com.
Oh, okay, to Elizabeth. Okay.
Yeah, I'll put it in.
Is that
Is there anything else I've missed or just want to make sure?
Is that form
No, we
on
really
the
appreciate
website?
everyone joining us, having this conversation. Again, we see this really as a partnership.
Michelle?
Yeah.
Hi, Tom Abenanti here. Can you fit me in your agenda at the end?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just thinking, I'm just trying to figure out, sounds like there's someone in the background. So I guess mute yourself. Sorry, I'm the host on this and I'm trying to figure out how this works. So I think it's gone now. Okay. Did you want to, Pam, were you done? Your question got answered? You're on mute.
I was looking for where that application is.
I'm going to send you, I'm going to click the, oh, sorry, that's a direct message. We'll reach out to you.
I just posted it in the chat.
She did.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you want to scroll through, or if I can find it, I'll post it again to bring it up.
Yeah, it's right there. I just posted it.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, baby. Yeah. So Tom, go ahead. We'd love to
Thank
hear.
you. That was noise in the background because I'm trying to do several things at once. I was just on another Zoom. I was trying to listen to you and listen to them at the same time. I actually had a third one, but I was unable to get it up on my iPad. So,
multitasking.
So I first of all, let me start off by saying hello. I haven't a lot. I don't recognize a lot of faces here, just a few. I'm Tom Abenanti. I'm your New York State Assemblyman. I represent the 92nd Assembly District, which is Greenburgh and Mount Pleasant, and everything within those borders. I've been an assemblyman now for 10 years. I'm going into my 11th year, my 6th term. Before that, I was a county legislator representing the river towns, and before that, I was a Greenburgh Town Councilman. So I'm very familiar with what's going on locally, and I'm really, really impressed to see. I've never seen the Chamber of Commerce this active, this local. and this energetic. And as I look around, I really see representatives of the new diverse economy. And I compliment you, one, for getting together, two, for all of you jumping in as entrepreneurs, and three, for you all working together, because that's the way it has to happen, especially in this economy. So I heard little bits and pieces of what you were talking about, and I'm really impressed. You're talking about stuff that the chambers have never talked about before. And I think that's really, really good. So I congratulate you. I found it fascinating, the little pieces that I could pick up. So I wish you well. And any way I can be helpful on that, I'd be glad to do that. As you know, right now, we're in a very difficult situation. The pandemic has not gone away. And the governor has been backing off from some of the limitations he's put in place, recognizing that those limitations have had a very severe impact on our small businesses. The problem is, I don't think the public is ready to move to go into restaurants yet, to go shopping in stores and stuff like that. So we really still have a different economy. We're not going to go back very quickly to the old economy. And that makes it very difficult for all of you. And I recognize that. It has an impact on everybody. I am in Albany tonight. I've been here for the last few days, and we are working very differently. We have a hybrid model. We have a session going on in the Capitol across the street. But we only have a handful of people there. Everybody else is on Zoom. I participate on Zoom from my Albany office. There are occasions where I want to speak on a bill. I can either speak through Zoom or I can go down to the floor. And depending on the gravity of the matter, what role I have in it, if it's my bill, I'll go down to the floor. If it's just a comment on a resolution or something, as I did today, I just spoke from my office. So it has really disrupted the whole environment, because it's made it very difficult for assembly members to communicate with each other and to commune, and for us to talk to senators. I mean, we can do it one-on-one, but that's not the same thing as sitting in the chamber and chatting with the other people. It's not the same thing as being in the lunchroom and being together. And it makes it very difficult for us to work together. I raise that because you have the same problems. You can only do so much with Zoom. You can't go to lunch together and sit there and just chat and cross-pollinate, if you can use that term. So I sympathize with the problems that you're facing. We're facing similar problems, kind of in a different environment, but we want to be helpful. My office is in Tarrytown. So if you are facing any issues where we can be helpful, please call. If you want to jot down the number, it's 631-1605. I should put it in the chat. Can somebody else do it for me? There we go. Thanks. 631-1605. Or just look us up online. We are working remotely. My 2 Westchester staff members are in the office periodically. The phones ring at their home, not in the office, go directly to them. My 2 staff members from Albany are also, both of them are medically fragile. Even though they're 2 different generations, one of them is a graduate student. She's just out of college. The other one is her grandmother age. But both of them are medically, so they're both working from home as well. So we've got this strange environment here where people are trying to talk to each other. We work on Zoom, we work however we can. But we're there to be helpful on any of the issues that we can be helpful on. I'm also looking for your feedback. We're dealing with the pandemic every day. I have to tell you, I've been up here for 10 years. And as I said, I was in local government for 25 years. I've never been this busy. We are just constantly responding to people's problems, and trying to deal with the issues as they come up. As you can see, I mean, I was, during the 2 Zooms, I got a call from one of my colleagues on a piece of legislation. And I said, can we talk later? He said, yes, as soon as I help put my kids to bed. He said, I'll give you a call after 9 o'clock. And that's a piece of legislation that we're working on right now, which is something you might be interested in. We gave the governor extraordinary powers last year. I was one of the few people who voted no. I didn't think he needed the extra powers, and I thought that he could use the legislature more effectively than he's in the past. But now there is an uprising by a lot of people saying that the extraordinary powers have been abused. And they want us to take the powers back or modify them. And we've had 3 days of conversations for 6 hours each on what to do. And the person who called me is the chairman of the committee who's working on the legislation, Ken Zabrowski from across the river. We're hopefully moving in a direction where we've gotten some consensus, and we'll see. But that's one of the things that I'd like some response from all of you. How have you reacted to what the governor has done? Do you think he's done the right things? Is there things you'd like to see modified? Because it's directly affecting you and your businesses. The other thing is, is I'd like to talk about budget. You know, we got a state budget, but we really, it's a very difficult time. Revenues are down, but the needs are up. And I don't know if we're going to get to the conversation tonight. It may be late for you to have a conversation on budget. I would love to be able to come back next month if we could and have that conversation. Or some other time, if you guys want to do a special Zoom or something like that, I'd be glad to do it. Because I really want some feedback from the business community in my district. And that's you guys. That's you guys. The other Zoom was the lodge unions in the state. They recognize the need for us to raise revenue. And raising revenue obviously means increasing taxes. And we were talking about how do we increase taxes on the quote wealthy. And there have been all kinds of proposals out there by different groups who have suggested things that I find just not acceptable. They want to, for example, reinstate an estate tax. And that estate tax starting at $250,000 in the state. Now that might work if you're in Chemung County, but in Westchester County, you know, you're all looking forward to, you know, leaving your heirs far more than $250,000. You know, so that's just a non-starter. But on the other hand, the concept of expanding the estate tax, which used to start at a lower level, is now at $5 million. That's pretty high. Even if you know, unless you're a very successful business person, which I hope all of you get to be, but $5 million is a lot of money, even if you include your homes and even if you include a business. So we can certainly move that down a little bit, maybe raise a little bit of revenue. But these are the types of discussions that really have to go on with community members. But the process here is so difficult because the governor gives us his budget as of, you know, in January. He has 30 days to amend it. So it means last week he amended it. And now we have to pass it by April 1. So there's this strange process that we're put in. And the public obviously doesn't understand what's going on. All they see is this blur in Albany. And then when it's all over, they say, what the hell did you do? Why did you do this? Why'd you do that? And, you know, because that's the process. It's all kinds of factors coming in. At any rate, so I'm babbling on here. I just wanted to say hello and take any questions, if Michelle, if you'll allow a few minutes for some feedback. Michelle, you're muted.
Yeah, Michelle. Well,
See, this is not my.
I know Patty. Hi, Patty. How are you?
And Tom, I'd like to talk to you about the governor, but I don't think we should do it in this forum. If I call the 1605, will I get through to you, or at least leave a message?
No, call me on my cell phone. Oh, I make the mistake of giving out my cell phone number, 914-592-7100.
You got it.
Everybody's heard it. 592-7100.
Thank you, Tom.
Okay. There we go.
I actually have, I mean, you made a lot of points. You know, obviously we feel in the restaurant industry, we know, we've been saying, even when we're allowed to be at 100%, we're not going to be at 100%.
Right.
So that's why, you know, we keep pushing for more support. My one question about, obviously this isn't the forum to talk about the governor, but as a matter of, you know, expediency, some of the things that were enacted were actually very helpful to businesses. Do you think that if the legislature takes over some of that power, that it will slow down those types of things? Or do you think there's a way to kind of make certain things that need to be enacted quickly?
That's what the discussion has been about.
Okay.
There are some, I will tell you that you probably see some of this in the newspapers if you follow it closely. The discussion, there's a group of people who say, we want to revoke his powers right away. There's another group, including me, that says they were supposed to expire on April 30th, let them just expire. And then there's a group that says, wait a minute, you know, he's done a lot of good things, let's just leave the powers in place. I think where we are now, and I've come around to the point of view after the antics of the last few days that with this governor, I'm now of the mind that we should just revoke the powers. But we have to understand that, number one, the governor has inherent powers, which we didn't give him last year. Number two, he has emergency powers that have long been in place in addition to the inherent powers of the governor. So what we actually did last time was minimal, but enough to be difficult, if you follow what I'm saying. So what the discussion has been, how do we continue the good stuff? And how do we determine what is the good stuff? You know, I mean, for the last few days, actually, he's been backpedaling on a lot of the stuff that he did. And so it's if you think it's confusing for you, it's confusing for us as well, because we're trying to follow what's going on. And so I know that that's not much of that's not a good answer for you, but I'm just giving you an honest answer. We're all trying to, because we keep getting the calls from our constituents saying, what does this mean? And we have a call with the governor's office 3 times a week, where all of the Westchester Assembly members and the Rockland members are on. And we ask those questions, we don't get answers back. So the governor did this. Okay, well, what does that mean in practice? We've got to, you know, like, this is what we don't get an answer back, which is one of the motivations for us to try to find another way to do this, to say, Governor, you can't just keep issuing this stuff. You say it's science and fact that you're based on, but we're not seeing the science anymore behind this. Explain to us why you're doing this, that, and the other thing. So one of the things we're talking about doing is, before he puts out any more executive orders, is having him clear it through the legislature, you know, some legislative leaders, and at least explain to us what he's doing, so that we can explain it to our constituents. And if it's not going to work, we tell them in advance it's not going to work. You know, for example, this whole big issue over schools. I mean, do we really need to have a distance of 6 feet? There are a lot of people out there who say you don't need 6 feet, 3 feet is enough. And so what's the science on this? It's keeping our schools in flux, and every school district is doing something different. Some are hybrid, some are in schools totally, some are closed. So this isn't working. It's not working for the kids. And there's a lot of pressure now by the parents, particularly of the younger kids, to say we need these kids back in school. So we've been pressing. I mean, the Westchester delegation met with, well, by Zoom, with the governor's office, and we finally got some kind of a statement back from them, but it's not satisfactory. So we as legislators are saying this isn't working anymore. So we've got to change some things here. So if you have stuff that you like and don't like, tell me tomorrow. You know, like, it's got to be right away or tonight, because we're trying to figure that out. How do we keep him? You know, I don't want to be the one, and the legislature can't be the one to say restaurants can be open at 10 o'clock, not 11 o'clock or whatever. That just can't be us. I mean, you can't get 150 people together in a room to make that decision. But on the other hand, when he makes policy determinations in the guise of health determinations, that's a problem. You know, and how do we distinguish the two? You know, I mean, like, I would like to hear, okay, so we're hearing about sports. I don't want to determine whether it's going to be a football game or not, whether it's going to be basketball or not, but I'd like to have the principles behind what you're saying. You know, let's all agree on what are the principles that you're using to determine if we're going to have soccer or basketball or football or whatever. I mean, like, he's allowing wrestling. Really? How can you can't get any closer than wrestling, and yet we can't have kids closer than 6 feet in the classroom. I mean, that's what one of the superintendents said to me, and he was 100% right. I can't justify that. So we've got to add some rationality to this because everybody's not going to be vaccinated. And we don't even know if the vaccines are going to be enough. I mean, there's now theories that I don't know if you saw it in the Times the other day. They were saying the vaccine may protect you, but it may not stop you carrying it from somebody who's got it to somebody else who's not vaccinated. And if that's the case, that's like, you know, I mean, I encourage everybody, if you're able to, go get the vaccine. But I don't see too many people on this Zoom who qualify for it yet. We're not there yet. But my 90-year-old aunt called me the other day and said, you know, should I take it? My daughter's got qualms about it. I said, it's for you. You're 90 years old. If you can take it, go get the vaccine. For God's sakes, go take it. You don't have any condition that's going to be exaggerated by it. Go take it. But there's so much confusion over that. And there's not going to be enough of it so that everybody is vaccinated. So we've got to deal with this problem for quite some time. So I'm talking again. You talk to me.
Well, that's great. So it sounds like, you know, maybe it's more geared towards health issues, whereas like, for example, the SLA extensions for the restaurants have been really, really helpful. We want to see that, you know, extended. Maybe things that aren't related to health wouldn't necessarily fall.
Do you guys have an agenda like that? That would be helpful if you guys could together just put together a quick agenda. This has almost got to be done like tomorrow because we're working on this legislation. We want to pass it next week. But that's the kind of issue that I think is really important. And that's the kind of issue that that comes up in the conversations with the governor's office. And we really ought to put into legislation rather than having the governor do. Yeah. We really ought to do like 6-month legislation that says for the next 6 months, the following is waived. Because otherwise, see, the governor's got powers to do things every 30 days. And like talking to our municipal partners, okay? I think even it might have been Nikki who asked me, is the governor going to renew the authorization to have online meetings? He's got to renew that every 30 days because he's only got 30-day powers. And so this will affect Patty. You can't schedule a zoning board or a planning board meeting, right? Because you got to have 30 days notice, but you don't know if in 30 days you're still going to have the right to do it by Zoom. And so that's kind of the stuff we're looking at here and say, well, how do we rationalize all of this? And we really need feedback from guys like you. Well, these are the things we'd like to see last for another 6 months.
Right. And what email address should
All right. You're going to send it to me directly, abinanti2010@aol.com. Very easy. ABINANTI2010@aol.com.
Okay, great.
I mean, I jumped on tonight because I saw this and I said, this is fortuitous. I get a chance to talk to some people on the ground who really are being affected by these things.
Tom, can I just jump in and say one quick thing?
Sure. Hi, Barb. I do know you.
Putting on a different hat because I also consult an arts organization. One of the things we're hoping to hear from the governor is the regulations by April 1st, because and not just us, some even way more than the organization I consult. If they don't know by then, they won't be able to start rehearsing and putting on their productions for the summer. So as long as whatever is to happen, you know, either way with however you play this out.
You're talking about the arts, opening up the arts and.
Yeah. I mean, and just knowing by April 1st what the rules are going to be for the summer is kind of crucial, you know, because
well, help me a little. Is it safe? I mean, outdoor theater and stuff like outdoor concerts, that's fine. What about indoor stuff? Do you think it's safe? And do you think the public is willing to go to those things?
Yeah, well, in the case of the client that I have, everything would be outdoors. So it's indoors, you know, I think, same, you know, perhaps the same rules that would go for any kind of business that's indoors, like a restaurant or anything. It would be a capacity issue and a spacing issue and safety protocols. So I do think it's possible to have things inside.
Well, take the Tarrytown Music Hall, for example, okay? Yeah. You know, I mean, that's an important economic driver.
Right.
In fact, I was involved with the Arts Council and Janet many years ago when we were kicking around. I was a county legislator. We were talking about how do we get more money for the arts? And Janet was starting to talk about, well, it's an economic driver. And I was having dinner one night in the restaurant right next to it. It was a Mexican restaurant, I believe, right? It's not there anymore.
Yep.
And I was talking to the owner. And he was saying, thank God for the music hall because, you know, business is down and that's what drives business here. And I went back to Janet and told her that. Janet is the head of the Arts Council, Janet Langsam. And we came up with the idea of having testimonials from local businesses who were benefiting by, and it's basically the restaurant industry, but they were benefiting by the music hall. And you know, right at the moment, you don't have any of those drivers in any of our villages.
Yeah.
And so to have them, you know, have them open would be great, but I don't know that the music hall can survive on 25%, you know, of its, and it's an old building with an old air conditioning system. I don't know that you can make the building safe. These are the kinds of issues that we're struggling with. So help me. What do you think?
In that case, I think funding to help them upgrade their systems is important if that's going to hold them back. And I think that any percentage that's safe to allow in there, they need ASAP. And it does hugely affect all the businesses in Tarrytown. So, you know, in their case, the most that you can allow safely in there should happen as, you know, as soon as possible. And if their system's not safe, I hope there's funding for them to get for that, you know.
Yeah, I'm just afraid that building's going to be very expensive.
Yeah.
You know, some of the smaller places are.
It's not a simple thing. One thing, Tom, just thank you for not going to Cancun.
Are you kidding? I barely leave my house. My wife, you know, somebody was spreading around this humorous comment. They said, one of the benefits of the pandemic is you get to spend more time with your family. And one of the downsides of the pandemic is you get to spend more time with your family. My wife is saying, you want to go to Albany? Go ahead, please go. So.
Anybody else have any questions?
Anybody else want to have a comment, question? Jump in. I guess not. Okay.
All right. Well, thank you for jumping on and filling us in on some information.
But I'm serious about that. I would like to have some conversation with you guys, you know, like how can we be helpful? You know, I mean, because you're really down at the level where it's hard to direct monies to you. This governor is so controlling that we've lost. There was a time we would get members' items, okay? Not a lot, but we would get some monies that we could control and direct. You know, to different groups. Now the types of monies we get are basically from municipalities. So I've been able to direct, you know, quite a bit of money to Greenberg and some of the municipalities. We could buy I directed money to Tarrytown, for example, and we bought the fireboat. Okay, that was something that they couldn't really afford themselves. Greenberg, we've gotten money for sidewalks, a ton of money for sidewalks. I'm trying to Irvington. I'm trying to remember what we did in Irvington. But in Hastings, we got money for the Hillside Woods renovation. Right at the moment, it's on hold because nothing's flowing, but we got quite a bit of money for that. And you know, I have a long history. When I was elected to the Board of Legislators, first thing I pushed for was to get Hillside Woods dedicated as public parkland. And so it's a warm spot in my heart for Hillside Woods, you know, and I want to make sure it remains available to the public. But those are the types of monies we can get. Now we're talking big bucks there, but it's all bonded money. It's all, you know, so that's available. Well, it was until last year, but that's not going to help you guys. I mean, you're talking about, you know, smaller grants to, I would assume, right, to get you by for the next few months.
Yeah.
And we just don't have access to that kind of money. And one of the fights we're going to have with the governor is he's glomming all of the money he can from Washington. Frankly, I called Schumer's office and they said, you've got to put in a requirement that the monies be used for the purposes you've dedicated them for, and that there has to be a maintenance of effort, that the state has to continue spending its own money at the same level, because the federal money should not be used to plug holes in our ongoing budget. It should be used to make people whole for things like you're talking about, you know, the grants. If you need a $10,000 grant to pay for a new system, air system, well, maybe that's what it should be used for. It shouldn't be used to plug the hole in the education budget. The hole in the we should be using that money to pay the schools for all of their COVID costs. That's back stuff. And maybe to invest some of it to help, you know, in the kinds of things that I'm talking about, you know, big projects, fixing roofs and air conditioning systems, et cetera. And then if we don't have enough money to pay for education, that's because we have a permanent problem. We have a structural problem. We're not putting enough money into the school systems. And we've got to fix that problem, not with a one-time shot with federal money. It's got to be the phone call I was just on. I mean, we're talking about hitting some of our own taxpayers who live in our communities, okay? You know, in my mind, we can increase the taxes on people who make more than $1 million a year and $5 million a year and $50 million a year. And if you're doing that well in this pandemic, you know what? I'm not going to apologize to you. I'm going to say congratulations. I will help you continue to make that money any way I can, but you got to give some of it back.
Right.
Because, you know, now there's a group out there that thinks we ought to start raising taxes at $300,000 a year. Now, to some people, $300,000 is a lot. But if you get a fireman and a teacher who've been working for a while, that's $300,000 a year. And I don't think anybody's going to claim that they're rich. You know, if they've got 2 kids and they're paying $20,000 a year in taxes, you know, they're not rich. They're middle class. Right. Now, you go up to, like I said, Chemung County, $300,000 a year is a lot of money. But down here, you know, you look at, I'm amazed at what sells for $1 million down here. You know, I mean, they're cottages in many cases. So these are I'm babbling on again, but these are some of the issues that we face. You know, you got a big state here, and you've got, you know, people down in the city pay $2 million for a 1-bedroom apartment. And you say, like, really? You know, so $1 million here is a house. Upstate, $1 million is, you know, 40 acres with a 5,000 square foot farm on it, a farmhouse on it. So these are the different issues that we come into. People want to say goodbye.
We're saying hello to Nick Campbell's daughter.
Oh, okay.
They're waving to us.
Oh, there you go. A future business owner.
She's a politician right here. She's waving to you.
Hi there. How are you?
We need the increased tax base in our downtowns. We need the municipalities to not be afraid of what happens in the downtown with what could be called in the negative way growth, which is really reinvestment in our older buildings to make them be able to handle more people and more events and more things.
I agree with you, and I think people are starting to understand that. The governor has put forward some proposals in his budget. Yep. The problem with those proposals is I think they override zoning. So I think you got to go with an incentive as opposed to a mandate. Because I agree with you, we've got to do something to expand our downtown areas.
Yep.
But doing it look, I was in local government for 6 years, and I understand you hear people all over the place. They don't want to change anything, and somehow you have to bring them along. Yeah, look, I know you're in the middle of it. I understand. You know, it's just and you sometimes look and you say, how do we convince that neighborhood that this is actually going to make their neighborhood better rather than worse?
Yeah.
You know, I'll give you a perfect example. I just gave up being the bank's chair. I was the chair of the banking committee, which was I had a nice big office, and, you know, being chair of the banking committee in the financial capital of the world is, you know, a prestigious position. But I didn't feel like I was having much of an impact on things. And the speaker just created a new committee. He made me the chair of it for people with disabilities. And that's been my passion for quite some time. Yep. I have a son with autism. We're fortunately in a school district that's doing everything right for him, but I see even there it's not enough. And statewide, we're not doing enough for people. So, I look at group homes. You know, you try to put a group home in anywhere, and the entire neighborhood rises up. And you know what? 6 months later, nobody even noticed that they opened it up. You know, so, but that's the kind of thing we're talking about. In some cases, the NIMBYism is valid and is justified, but in many cases it's not. And it's just a fear of people. You know, I mean, they just put a group home in across the street from my house where I live. I now live in Pleasantville. I moved to the Pleasantville School District because they have a great program for kids with disabilities.
They do.
I lived in Greenburgh for 35 years in Orchard Hill. And so they put a group home in like 4 doors down. And the only people to speak in favor of it was my wife. The person across the street from it came out against the group home. And he's got a daughter with autism. Like, really? You know, he said, we're overloading the neighborhood. And I wanted to say to him, you overloaded the neighborhood because I've got a kid with autism and my next door neighbor has a kid with autism. And so when you came in, you've overloaded the neighborhood. We didn't oppose you coming in. Why are you going to oppose? Would you prefer to have some family where there's 5 kids and the wife is on drugs and the father's a drunk and the kids hold parties all the time? Is that what you prefer? This is a group home that people don't go anywhere. They don't make any noise. They're supervised. What's the problem? But it's a lack of information that people are afraid of something different. And we've yet to figure out. I think the real problem is, and I don't want to criticize local governments, but they don't plan in advance, they react. And so when a developer comes in with a proposal, they're not prepared to deal with it because they don't know what they want. Well, if they went the other way around and said, this is what we want our downtown to look like, and then put out RFPs to a developer or to different developers and say, okay, you know, what do you think? Is this a good idea the way we're doing it? Do you have a better idea? But this is what we want our downtowns to look like.
They still get manipulated because we did that in Dobbs with the vision plan. It was adopted in 2010. We got 4 good years of actually doing a lot of improvements to buildings, but people just started reacting to change, and the trustees didn't have the confidence to stand up against a small group of noisy people who said that it was causing traffic, it was causing congestion. It's like, I love it when people talk about the growth in the villages. Dobbs Ferry in 1970 was 10,363 people. This year it's 11,047.
Right.
It's added 14 people a year.
Well, but you see, that's where the Chamber of Commerce comes in.
Yes.
That's where you guys have to be involved and say, this is what we need. I mean, you might have somebody who says, look, I don't need competition from an art store, but what I really need is this. Why don't you design the village so we can bring one of these in, or something like that. It's kind of, but I'm not at that level anymore. and it's not right for me to be telling, I resented when I was at town council, but to have people above me say, this is what you should be doing.
You're right. So and Michelle, I'm looking at you on this thing. We need to take that position with the villages. We really do.
Yeah, but it has to be intelligent planning.
Yeah. And it has to be real, and it has to be fair, and it has to be honest, and it has to be just.
And, look, I've always said that I thought all of the river villages should be working together. I think the mayors are now, for the last several years, they've been working together. They meet once a month. But what about the stores? You guys now have a vibrant organization here to compare notes. I like the idea of having a trolley going from Yonkers to Ossene, and in and out of the streets. Bring people in. Let them come. They start off and go see the what is the famous historic site in Yonkers?
There's Untermeyer, there's the tavern, there's a bunch,
Right, there's things like that, and go down to the train
Manor.
stations and stuff like that.
Phillips Manor.
What was that? Phillips Manor.
Oh, yeah. Phillips
Yeah,
Manor.
there's one at each end, right? There's a Phillips Manor down there, and there's a Phillips Manor up in, so, but that's the kind of stuff that during the summer, I know there was one for a while, there was an intermittent one, but what you're trying to do is get people on the street.
Right.
Right? And then the concept of closing off streets for a while. I mean, like somebody asked before, you're going to have that you're going to have Friday night. Right. I don't know. What do the store owners say? Would you guys like to see Main Street in Dobbs Ferry closed? Would you like to see the Main Street in Hastings closed? Was it Warburton? Would you like to see,
occasionally?
Right. So that, so that people can come out to dinner.
Yep. Well, we balance it. We do it every couple of weeks because we need police staff, and some businesses benefit from it, some don't. But yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But in this environment,
it's good.
I would
to have
think,
it.
but again, I can't tell locally what you should be doing, but just from afar, I know I'll go eat at the restaurant outdoors, but I have not eaten in an indoor restaurant. Last time I was up here in Albany, it was very cold, and now I bring food from home. But what I was doing was I went to a restaurant and I wouldn't even sit in a tent because it was so enclosed, it felt like I was in the restaurant. So I sat outside the tent, and it was very cold, but you know what? I felt safer.
Yeah.
And so I have to believe that my mentality is going to be similar to what a lot of other people are going to be thinking. But we've got to drive businesses to our local, drive business to our local businesses somehow.
Yep.
So, outdoor activities.
I think we share a lot of the same sentiments, you know, and some municipalities are easier to work with than others. You know, I think the challenge that we've experienced as a Chamber of Commerce and a new Chamber of Commerce is that we're run by small business owners, you know, who don't have a lot of extra time. The thing that has changed for us, and I've been saying this, the pandemic has been an opportunity if we make it that, is that the county put forth a Business First grant for the first time ever. We had funding to hire an executive director and bring more people on to kind of support us. So making a chamber, you know, more of an institution like you might see in Rhode Island, where they focus a lot on tourism, you know, where they have a staff. So, you know, we need support, you know, in that regard to kind of keep this.
Well, there was a River Towns tourism. I'm trying to, Patty, do you remember? What was it called?
I think it was the Westchester, oh God.
It was Gold. What was her first?
Nancy Gold. Nancy Gold, yeah.
Nancy Gold, right?
And
she's still around?
Yes, she is. She wrote to us today, actually.
Okay.
There was also a guy who I think lives up in Sleepy Hollow who was very active in it. And, you know, he was talking with, you know, Austining about having a museum at Sing Sing and stuff like that. So
yes,
that's definitely part of it. And if in Dobbs we get the 3 rubber tired trolleys, where we're going to be 5 days a week hitting the train station, getting people around town, Michelle's already put in the pitch that on the weekends we don't need to do that. So on the weekends we have a very different program with the trolleys, which makes them available to the river towns. And we have that shuttle going back and forth from one downtown to the next, so that people can explore the area. We can work things out with MTA or Metro North.
Yeah, if you have a problem with MTA, let me know, because we'll try to work with them for you.
Yeah, well,
that's one thing we can do.
Yeah, they're very good about this. They want to increase their ridership. So them on a Saturday making a discounted ticket that gives them free pass on the trolley, that gets them to 3 or 4 or 5 different villages, is exactly what they want to do.
Right, and that's important, because if you're going to do outdoor events, you know, you've got these beautiful riverfronts. You need to bring people to the riverfront, but you don't want them to go back to Manhattan. You want them to explore the downtown areas.
Exactly.
And so even, you know, a free trolley that would take them up to, you know, or if there's a charge for it, but it gets rebated if you go to a restaurant or something, or to one of the local businesses.
Yep.
Something like that.
We planned that, we did the Rivertown Public Market, and we saw that it was a food festival during the day, yet there were people in downtown Dobbs Ferry during and after. So, you know, we're, like you said, I think the municipalities and some people meet some of these kinds of things with hesitation. We just kind of have to plant the seed. Like we had like a trolley event, you know, for Pride or for the holidays, like we did. We're kind of planting that seed of, you know, same thing with the parklets. This is something we actually do want. Like, sure, it disrupts something we're used to, but let's embrace these ideas, because
what idea was that?
It just a lot of the ideas that we've had as a
you said parklet?
We kind of meet with some resistance with the villages.
What's the parklet idea?
The what? The parklets?
Yeah.
Before the pandemic, we were talking about how do we incorporate more parklets downtown, not as dedicated to restaurants, but just as places to sit and to be. And now all of a sudden we have.
See, that's the kind of thing I might be able to help with if we ever get our monies back. If we ever get capital money, that's the kind of thing that I can do. I could get that on the list because I can direct state money to the local governments for that purpose.
Right. Well, the main thing we needed wasn't any money. We just needed the village to not say no. And then with COVID, they had an excuse to not say no, and they demonstrated that it works. What we're hoping is that it doesn't end when COVID is over. We continue with the parking spaces in front of restaurants being able to be used in the evenings to have more people sitting outside for a more vibrant downtown.
Yeah, the problem is, look, the problem everywhere is downtown parking. There's not enough.
Well, there are varying opinions about that. We've done so many parking studies that don't get accepted because it comes back that there's actually not a parking problem, there's a walking problem. You know, if they're willing to walk a block, they can find a parking space. They just can't park in front.
But you're restricting yourself to local residents then. In other words, if I want to go down, I used to make it a habit of eating in different restaurants. I saw Maud on here somewhere.
Yeah.
You know, so, you know, we would go to different restaurants, my wife and I and my son. You know, we make a regular habit of it. I'd go to something in Dobbs Ferry. I'd go to something in Hastings. I'd go to, you know, Irvington, in Tarrytown. But I'm from out of town. I'm not, you know, I got to park somewhere. And so, you know, you got to use the parking spaces so that you can be outdoors. That I understand. But what we need is peripheral parking.
Right.
And there's no way to do that. That's the problem. Now we can put parking on Route 9. I mean, I don't know. You know,
It depends on the
Parking, it's like, you know, in Dobbs Ferry, we have a huge new lot that nobody parks in. There's no signage. There's no big municipal parking lot.
That's
way.
important.
Which lot is that?
Somewhere that I,
DPW used to be down at the corner of Palisades and Cedar Street. They finally paved that and made it a 99 space parking lot. And
Nobody knows.
Yeah.
I didn't know. Cedar Street and where?
And Palisade Street.
Oh, down. Okay. What was there before?
It was the old DPW.
Right. So they took that down?
They took that down. They made a parking lot.
How long ago was that? That was recent, right?
2 years ago.
That's not that recent. I just haven't driven down there.
It's basically the I mean, I put up with so much criticism of development projects we were doing in the downtown, cutting the number of units because everybody said there was a huge parking problem, including on Palisade Street. And then we built this 99 space parking lot. And I think the most it's ever had in it is 20 cars.
Well, that's, first of all, you've had the pandemic for the last year.
True.
But beyond, because I was down there.
You
but
don't
I
know
didn't go
about
down that way. I went down to Main Street and across.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I
Michelle,
just
you
tend
need
to, in the pandemic, I tend to just drive around and see what's going on. Take my son out for a ride, you know, and I go in and out of the villages and check what's happening.
Yeah.
You know, how many of you
Needs a big sign.
Yeah, it needs a big sign. You're right. It does.
What were you going to say? How many what?
How many of you are Dobbs Ferry?
business.
None of you.
I do.
Patty and Michelle, what's your business?
Harper.
Kristen, you're Dobbs Ferry too, I think.
I'm sorry, say it again.
I think
Harper's in Dobbs. Oh wait, who?
Oh, Harper's. Okay, yeah, I've been there. Not recently, but I've been there.
yeah, fabulous restaurant.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I'm Dobbs Ferry too.
Well, what do you guys think of the proposal for lowering the speed limit?
I think we can lower speed limits on signs as much as we want, and maybe it'll make some difference. I think when we can redo the crosswalks and neck down the streets, we can slow the parking down. It's the design of the streets that people drive to. The consortium of the 5 villages recently came out with a report that had Nelson Nygaard do the actual report, and it's very good. We've given it to DOT, and we're hoping that it actually does something. It improves.
I think I provided some money for that.
You did. We're very grateful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the problem with this is our staff here, at the guidance of DOT, does not like to do village-wide reductions of speed limits.
Right.
What they ask for is a study to show that in a particular area it's necessary, because otherwise you have everybody in the state trying to reduce the speed limit as low as possible, and then there's no traffic flow. And the real problem you have in Dobbs Ferry is the main drag goes through a residential neighborhood.
Right.
Right.
It's really our main street. Broadway is the main drag. Every kid who goes to school has to deal with Broadway. So I think we can live with it being a slower street. Changing the speed limit in Dobbs from Irvington to Hastings, I think we figured out added 40 seconds to the trip.
Right.
So except what?
Oh, Patty, that light at the corner, that adds like 10 hours to a lot of hours to your life over time.
Here's what I want to have a day that we turn off all the street lights, all the stoplights.
Yeah.
Have power outages. The traffic flows through those intersections smoothly.
Yeah.
How often are you sitting at that light for 30 seconds with no cars going through it?
I know. There's nothing worse than hitting that red light, man.
Here's the saying, Tom, if the speed limits are slow enough, you don't need the stoplights. And there's a guy, unfortunately, he passed away, but I'll send you the contact. In England, he took a 7 streets coming together intersection. The way he solved the traffic problem is they eliminated all the civilization. And everything flowed smoothly. They used to
they didn't put a roundabout?
It basically, it's Poynton, England. It was an elongated roundabout, but it's a free-for-all zone. You know, and the trick was, he said, if they actually filmed it as people came up towards it in their cars, everybody would sit forward. They'd be paying attention.
Right, because you have to.
You know, people were coming from every direction. They'd slow down. They eliminated accidents. They eliminated people who were previously getting hit with all the different signals doing it.
Interesting. In Pound Ridge, they have no traffic lights, but it's a much smaller, area, of course, less traffic, but.
Let's get rid of the lights. We'll save money.
Great.
I'm just looking at the lighting here. I'm looking red in there. Do I look red to you?
Yeah, you're down in Cancun.
Yeah, right. I know. I haven't been. I'm trying to figure out what the lighting is doing. I think it's the yellow lighting that's going on.
It's the same thing. If you look at my lighting in here, it's the LED light.
Yeah, right. Yeah, because I'm just noticing that. I'm saying, am I sick or something? So I'm all red. Okay, but I didn't look red on the other computer. I have a feeling it's the computer. But anyway, anything else you guys want to talk about?
Oh, but thank you.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, and I'll try to reach out with some at least some bullet points for.
Yeah, right away, especially the stuff that you want to preserve, because I think that's important. That's the kind of stuff that I think the legislature should be doing. We should be doing the elections. We should be, authorizing villages to do pandemic related stuff that's different than the normal.
SLA.
And the SLA is one, right? Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah. So what was the SLA ruling?
Well, one was, obviously there's the alcohol to go. Who knows if that'll stay? But the concern is that the the dining parklets and tents and things, that can't stay without changes to. That was an executive order that we were allowed to extend our spaces out into the parking spaces.
You see, in my mind, it's really questionable whether the governor has the power to do that.
As an executive order?
Yeah. No, we haven't complained about it because it was a good thing to do, but that's part of the issue here. How is that pandemic related? It's really not. It's making things better for business, but it's not stopping the spread of closing down of businesses, but allowing them to work somewhere else. That's really not pandemic related. That's really not cutting down on the spread of the pandemic. That really should be the legislature. But this governor doesn't bother to, he could have sent us a bill, and with what's called a message of necessity, we could do it within 24 hours.
We're willing to take advantage of any opportunity that we can. If it takes a pandemic to get the parklets working, we'll do it. Everybody's assignment is to go on YouTube and look at Poynton Regenerated. It's Poynton. It's 15 minutes long. It is absolutely amazing. It is a story that everyone should understand because it shows how everyone's preconceptions can be wrong.
What is this? How do you spell it?
Poynton, Poynton Regenerated. And it's on YouTube. It's Sir Hamilton Bailey was the traffic engineer who did it.
Oh, okay. I was trying to figure out what this was about. Okay.
And it's not just about the traffic. It's also about that idea everybody has, this won't work. This won't work. Everybody's saying it won't work. They do it. And even those people will come back later and they say it's fabulous.
That wasn't what you shared with us, right, Patty, about Asheville, North Carolina?
No, that was different.
Yeah, but I thought that it felt like they were speaking about Dobbs Ferry. I was like,
have you been to Asheville?
No, I want to go. What was the Asheville video, Patty?
I forget the name of the video. You just, I've got a whole bunch of stuff.
Oh, Asheville is a totally different world.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be very cool. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, it's in the middle of nowhere. I hate to say that, but it's, my daughter moved to, I have a daughter who moved to North Carolina. And so we met her in Asheville. And also I went to a cousin's wedding there. and which was very weird. But they rented a farmhouse, which is, I guess is current these days, right? A different venue. But we did get to see a little bit of Asheville, and it's like downtown Manhattan.
Yeah,
I mean, the
supposedly.
bars are open, all night.
A lot of
and
music.
It's a very vibrant, younger
Mhm.
crowd, which is not what Nashville was just a few years ago. So it's really a place that's been rejuvenated.
Your other assignment is to get the book Our Towns by James Fallows. He and his wife have a plane, and they've flown around all these different cities, and what they look for were those places that were finding unusual solutions. And it's fabulous. Michelle, you will just eat it up. I mean, it's like so many things where one person came in and did the right thing, and all of a sudden the whole character of the town improved. Barbara, it should be your homework assignment. It's what will enable.
I do have one question I should have asked before when there were more people on. One of the issues that has been raised that we've been working some legislation on is the industry that picks up from restaurants and delivers to people at home. Is there a problem with that? Has anybody experienced, the difference?
In terms of COVID or what?
No, just the way they operate.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's not just unique to the United States. I mean, it happens in China. I mean, it's a common feeling that these delivery services are taking advantage of an industry that is already maxed out. And where the problem that, the argument that you should just not use them doesn't work, because we're moving to a world where things are more online and people want to order, so if your business doesn't go with the flow, you could lose that. But so they're taking advantage of what's happening digitally.
In what way?
By charging too much. I mean, the Uber Eats, we tried to sign up, when they first came to Westchester, they wanted 30%.
Wow.
Our profit margin, is probably the best year, no more than 5%. I mean, it's bananas. But at some point, it's going to become that you can't get away from using these services. That's the concern. And we have to keep them from taking advantage of the drivers too, which I know is another concern.
It seems like it was predatory that they were expecting the restaurants to be giving up their shares to make it work. I would have thought that they would have structured it that if I want takeout and I don't want to have to drive, I pay the Uber.
I would have thought that too.
And deliver it.
In a lot of cases, also charge fees to the consumer. They're just getting at it from all
angles. They're getting it from both sides. That's wrong.
Really predatory.
I thought it just worked the way Patty did. I didn't realize that.
I think what we need is a bunch of teenagers who have just gotten their driver's license to practice driving by delivering the food.
It's so scary.
Look, there's all kinds of stuff. You got shoppers now. I know my wife called. We had an experience once before. I don't know where, but it was terrible. So she didn't want to do it again with one of the shoppers at a supermarket. But she did it the other day at Wegmans in Portchester.
Yeah.
And it turned out perfectly. Everything was good. And we were really surprised. Now we're waiting to see the price because they reserved on the credit card something that was far greater than the final bill. And I'm still waiting to see, so it's part of what you're talking about now. Are they taking advantage here?
Yeah.
There were definitely instances like that.
Wow.
And I think the Restaurant Association had addressed that with some lawsuits that called out there were just ways that they were taking more money than they should, but there are definitely just very transparent things that are happening that just don't make sense. And we're kind of being pushed into using them, but then giving up so much. And it's like, something's got to give at some point. And
well, the pizzerias have their own person. You don't have enough you don't have enough orders to hire your own person or have one of your own staff do it.
Right. Yeah. Not everybody's geared to take out.
Why not work out a deal with the pizzeria when they have somebody on staff and let them deliver for you?
I agree.
That's an insurance,
that's the kind of thing I'm suggesting that you guys do as a Chamber of Commerce. Work together and work out a way that you have you start your own little Chamber of Commerce delivery.
2 teenagers with cars could handle the
Well,
whole.
I'm not sure I'd go that far, but.
Huge liability problem, Patty. Huge liability.
Yeah, exactly. One of the businesses is going to have to hire the person and the others are going to have to, but look, the cooperation, like we did that somewhere along the way. I was able to get some money. I wanted to give some money to the fire districts. So they needed air packs. But the assembly said, $25,000 is too little money for, you want 5 different fire departments. You're going to buy a handful of air packs for each one. We got to go through a contract on each one. We've got to bond the money. That's crazy. So I said, well, how about if we put them all together and let one company distribute it with the others?
Right.
So that's what we did. We somehow managed, they got together, and I don't know if it was Hartsdale or Fairview or whatever, said, okay, we'll be the main contractor, and we'll work out with the other fire companies to distribute it. So,
No, you're right. I mean, that's actually how that money that you provided for the study on Broadway worked. Irvington manned up and said, we'll be the contract. We'll be the people. All the money goes to Irvington. They manage that side of it for the other 4 villages.
Right.
Otherwise, if each village got some grant, you tried to coordinate, it would have been impossible. It was working together that made it successful.
Right. So I don't know if it can work for you guys, but you got to find a way to, and do specials.
Yep.
You get 5 nights at a restaurant for a certain amount of money, and there's 5 different restaurants that are part of it. Anything that attracts people to come in.
I got to jump, but I just want to make one big point to Tom before I go. I obviously with the budget, it's crazy this year. I don't know if you're gonna be able to find any money for it, but one of the biggest things the past 3 years, realistically, it's been Michelle and I handling all the back office stuff as far as websites and communications and setting up events and all this and whatnot. Like she had mentioned with COVID, taking advantage kind of the situation, we got grant money from the county that came from the federal government, right, from the CARES money, that allowed us to hire an executive director. And hiring that executive director was one of our long-term goals, but it has been like a weight off of all of our shoulders because it's allowed us to spend more time on doing like what you're talking about and actually getting out in front of business owners and talking to them and seeing what's going on and seeing what the hardships are instead of worrying about, what are we going to post on the website today or what are we going to do on Facebook? So
I understand that staff is so important.
I don't know if there's any kind of money out there that you guys are looking at that could possibly continue to front, nonprofit organizations for these staff type things. I mean, the grant was 25 grand, not a huge sum of money, but to us, it's the entire world.
Oh, I understand. Look, the first thing I learned when I started practicing law many years ago, I spoke with a couple of older lawyers and I said, I'm looking at office space. Do I have to impress my clients? But I don't have enough money to pay for a fancy office space and have a secretary at the same time. I can't even find, I said, maybe a part-time secretary. And the advice was always hire the staff. Don't worry about what your office looks like. Hire the staff.
Right.
You got to get the work done. And you need people to work with. So from day one, in fact, from day one, I had a part-time secretary I didn't even want to share with somebody else, violating my own advice, but you want to be in charge. So I had a part-time, a quarter time, and then she became a third, then half, and then full-time. But never had a fancy office.
Right.
And as a sole practitioner, because I still run a small business. Right now, it's very, very small because the assembly is basically a part-time pay for a full-time job.
It's crazy.
Yeah, but I enjoy doing it, and much more than I like practicing law, but I enjoy doing this much more.
The second thing is just the food insecurity program that Michelle was running that we got the grant for from the county. We were able to put $80,000 towards people that otherwise weren't going to be able to eat. You know what I mean? So if there's a way, and now we're trying to raise the money through like GoFundMe from the private sector, but if there was a way that they could find some kind of money for that, that's huge.
Actually,
you don't realize how much of a difference that made.
Yeah.
I mentioned earlier on the call, the FEED Act. Biden signed an executive order that allowed for FEMA money to cover 100%.
What is it called?
It was initially called the FEED Act, but I'll email you the link to the article.
All right.
You can use 100% of FEMA money, whereas it was 75% before. The kicker is it has to go through the local governments. I'm not sure, maybe it can go through some nonprofits like World Central Kitchen. But essentially the federal government is saying, here, we'll give you money to pay restaurants to feed people, but we need our county government to do that. We did the community meal grant. It was a huge lift for them. But that said, we have the blueprint. Like, we know we can, like, we just need more money to keep doing what we were doing. And maybe they need more support to, you know, contract and handle these invoices, you know, but I mean, it's there.
Frankly, it was easier when I was a county legislator to do that than as an assemblyman.
Yeah.
You know, it's just a different type of, for example, the Greenberg Nature Center, when I was a county legislator, I was able to direct to them every year a certain amount of money, which they use for one staff person. And, you know, that kept it going for a while. I don't have that. I just don't have that ability to do that as an assemblyman. But I will look into this and see if there's some way that we can. What I want to make sure of is if there's a federal program that the governor doesn't grab the money and not use it for the purpose that it was intended.
Yeah.
And then that's a concern that I have. But I'm glad you mentioned this is called, what is it called? The FEED Act?
Yeah, if you look up the FEED Act, I don't know what that was, the legislation that was introduced, but then Biden signed an executive order. So, and I have your email, so I'll send.
Yeah,
you.
so send me something on it. All right, good.
Okay.
And then the SLA stuff is important.
Yes. Great.
In fact, I'm going to be I'm waiting for that phone call from the chairman of the committee. But all right. Well, nice to meet all of you and renew relationships with a couple of you.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
I see we still have 8 people. Okay, I was looking at.
It's late.
Everybody's on the screen. We bored them completely. Jennifer, what do you do?
I think it was good. You know, it was just long.
What does Jennifer do?
Jennifer, tell him your story. You're the most important person on here.
Can she hear us?
You've been doing it for a long time, Jennifer. Tell him.
I have a design and marketing firm here in Hastings. I've been living here since 2001. Raised the kids, they're gone. And I do a lot of work with the Village of Hastings, and I work with Barb and Nikki. And I have a guide called Rivertowns Guide that is sort of on hold during the pandemic, but it's a guide to the Rivertowns of what's going on.
I think I've seen that, yeah.
Yeah, so, and I work with the chamber and I manage the website. The design and marketing firm does a lot of web building, and I have a lot of small businesses locally.
Did you didn't do the you didn't do the events calendar for the Rivertowns, did you? Was that you or was that somebody else?
Yeah, for Rivertowns Guide, that was me.
Okay.
Yeah, and I hope to start it up again when life continues.
And we work with
Tony, what do you do?
Oh, sorry.
Tony, are you still there? I just want to say hello.
You're muted. You're muted. You're on mute, Tony.
Oh, there we go. Okay, I got myself unmuted. I have a small restaurant in Irvington. It's basically meats and noodles, like Asian flair.
Sapporo?
Asian restaurant.
Where?
What's it called?
Kosu. Kosu.
Oh,
that's what's on your shirt.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah,
How long have
we
you
do
been there?
basic, going on 4 years.
Wow, time goes by. Okay.
Sure does.
You're on Warburton?
No, in Irvington.
No, where are you?
He's in Irvington by the train station.
Oh. Are you in what used to be the Red Hat many years ago?
No, that would be a large space. I'm what used to be Buon Gusto, old Italian restaurant.
Okay, I got to come by sometime.
The Red Barn Bakery and Eileen Fisher are.
Like
Yes. Oh, okay. You're on that side.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice.
And who didn't I talk to?
Kristen?
Is Kristen still on? I don't know if she's still on.
Oh, yeah, I'm still on. I'm just doing other stuff while listening.
And what do you do, Kristen?
I'm a brand strategist. So I work with companies on their brand strategy and organizational change and culture and social impact. And
Do you and Jennifer have bricks and mortar, or do you work out of your house, or what?
I work part-time out of my house and part-time out of HUDCO down on Palisade Street, the co-working.
Yeah.
That's a co-share. Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah, it's very nice.
As do I. I work out of HUDCO.
Yeah, the Democratic Party had an event there.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
a great space, and it opens up the river towns to more businesses.
That's a very interesting concept. Of course, at this point, I'm not sure how many people use that place. With social distancing and all.
What's happening there?
They adjusted things. They put some like pods in, and I think they might have taken more space. I want to say they adjusted things, and I think people are still using it.
They have so they reduced capacity, they upgraded the filters. There's a now seating plan. It used to be just you went in and took a seat. Now you have to book specific seats. So it's
Yeah, I remember it's kind of a big open space, lots of glass and glass dividers and.
yeah, so it's really spaced out. There's walking pathways, so you can't venture out.
Okay.
A pretty rigid cleaning schedule.
Well, that makes sense. I mean, I have this beautiful office in Tarrytown, my assembly office, and it's wasted now because we're not using it. I mean, I work out of my house. I've got a small home office which is my law office, has now become my assembly office. And during the campaign season, it was also my campaign office. So it's kind of like,
I'll tell you, businesses that are really struggling are dry cleaners, because nobody needs to dress up for anything.
Exactly.
And we have 4 of them in Hastings, so it's not easy. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. How often do I wear a suit? I mean, it's, rarely.
Yeah.
In fact, I've got an old jacket. The pants wore out. The jacket still looks good, so it's my Zoom jacket. I'm wearing a suit today, but I
Yeah, you
have it
could
at
be in
home.
basketball. You're in basketball shorts for all we know. I mean,
Exactly. Exactly. You could be in shorts and sandals and you're wearing a jacket and tie. So.
All right.
Thank you for chatting. It's nice to get a sense from you guys what's going on.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming
Appreciate you coming on.
We'll be
Also from you too.
All
Bye.
right. Keep in touch. Good.
Take
So
care.
long.
Bye.